When I played that video in court, everyone finally saw the truth. Karen had forged every document and stolen my $7 million home. But when the judge's gavel slammed down, she whispered something that still keeps me awake at night. I still remember the way Ethan's hands trembled that morning. His small fingers clutched the garden hose, dripping water and fear onto the porch steps. He said, "Dad, there were strangers inside our mountain house." My heart froze. That home was supposed to be our retreat, our family's dream reborn. The house, sitting high above Pine Ridge, had cost me $7 million to restore after years of neglect. Every nail felt like hope rebuilt. But now, my 10-year-old son stood before me, pale and shaking, whispering that a woman named Karen had yelled, "Leave now or I'll call the police." At first, I thought it was a misunderstanding, maybe hikers or surveyors. But then Ethan said, "Dad, they had suitcases." Before we go on, please, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to see how many families, parents, and neighbors are feeling this story across the country tonight. Your comment helps this message reach more people who've faced unfair HOA rules too. My chest tightened. They were living there. I grabbed my keys, my jaw clenched. The road to Pine Ridge twisted through thick pine woods, where silence felt like warning. When I reached the gate, the security code I installed blinked invalid. Someone had changed it. My name was no longer on the system. Through the window, I saw toys scattered in the yard, not ours. A barbecue grill smoking lazily. A stranger's laughter echoed from the porch. Then she appeared, short blonde hair, sunglasses, and that smug expression that said rules didn't apply to her. "This is private property," she said coldly. I stepped forward, heart pounding. "It's mine." Karen smiled. "Not anymore." When I first saw the house 6 months earlier, it was broken, lonely, and forgotten, like a ghost at the edge of heaven. I saw potential, not ruin. I bought it at auction, a 1960s mountain estate with creaking floors, cracked stone walls, and a view so perfect it looked painted by God himself. The townspeople called it the Hollow Peak, whispering about feuds and lawsuits between old neighbors. I ignored the warnings. I just wanted peace. Every weekend, Ethan and I drove up to fix small things, painting fences, clearing weeds, planting wildflowers. My boy called it our mountain mission. But that peace began to unravel the day I noticed Karen watching from the neighboring cabin. Her eyes followed every truckload of lumber I brought in. She'd wave fake smiles but question everything. "Why so much renovation? Are you licensed? You sure this isn't protected land?" She always smelled like suspicion. One morning she appeared with her husband, saying, "Our family once owned part of this land." I brushed it off politely, not knowing it was a warning. The more I built, the more she complained, to zoning officers, to contractors, even to the sheriff. "He's disturbing our mountain," she'd hiss. I thought her jealousy would fade. But jealousy doesn't fade, it festers. And in Karen's eyes, my home wasn't a dream. It was a prize. That day Ethan found strangers there, I finally understood she'd claimed the prize for herself. When I returned that night, I found the locks replaced, blinds drawn, and Karen's SUV parked smugly in my driveway like a victory flag. I called the county sheriff. He arrived yawning, hands in pockets, muttering, "Could be a misunderstanding. Property disputes happen all the time around here." Misunderstanding? I barked. "They broke into my home." The sheriff sighed. "Can you prove it's yours?" His tone carried that quiet mountain bias, locals protecting locals. I showed the deed, the renovation invoices, the signed contracts. He nodded slowly, then said, "Still, you'll need to handle this through civil court." Through the window, Karen's teenage son stared at me like I was trespassing. His mother smirked behind him, waving a cup of coffee. I wanted to shout, but Ethan's small hand tugged my sleeve. "Dad, let's just go home," he whispered. His voice cracked like something fragile breaking. Driving down the mountain, I saw Karen's lights flicker on, glowing through my living room curtains like thieves celebrating Christmas. That night I barely slept. Every sound felt like laughter from my stolen home. Every dream was of Ethan watering lawns that weren't ours anymore. The next morning I called my lawyer, but he said, Possessions 9/10 of the law. This will be long, expensive. My $7 million dream was bleeding. And I realized I wasn't just fighting for property. I was fighting to prove I wasn't invisible. Lawyers love paper. Karen loved chaos. Together, they made my life miserable for the next 6 months. Every document came with a new demand. She claimed ancestral ownership, forged an old map, and accused me of environmental destruction. The audacity made me laugh, until bills started stacking. The town zoning board called weekly, always anonymous complaints about noise, smoke, permits. I knew exactly whose voice was behind those reports. Meanwhile, Ethan's spirit dimmed. He stopped drawing the mountain in his sketchbook. "What's the point?" he said once, staring at the blank page. I wanted to protect him, to promise we'd win. But I was drowning in legal jargon, liens, and exhaustion. Even my lawyer began to lose hope. Then one night, while going through old files, I found something, an original sale contract mentioning the old owner's unpaid taxes. A possible loophole. If I could prove Karen's ancestral claim was void due to past forfeiture, I could reclaim everything. Hope flickered again, faint but alive. I began driving up secretly at night, documenting, filming, gathering evidence. Karen's family slept inside, unaware the walls still held my cameras. Each night I whispered to the house, "Hold on. I'm coming back." The pine trees rustled like they believed me. But the night I caught Karen signing fake documents on video, I knew the war had changed. It was late, cold wind, full moon, silence broken by distant laughter inside my house. I crouched behind the shed, camera trembling in my hand. Through the window, Karen sat at my dining table, scribbling on old land deeds, stamping them with something metallic. Her husband said, "This'll make it airtight. He'll never prove ownership." She smiled and whispered, "This land always belonged to us." My pulse raced. My camera light blinked red, recording every lie, every fake signature. For the first time, justice didn't feel impossible. When I took the footage to the sheriff, he frowned. "Forgery's serious," he said, "but she's well connected here." His voice cracked, fear of local politics. I contacted a journalist from Denver, someone who specialized in property fraud. Within days, our story hit local headlines: family claims stolen mountain mansion. The town buzzed. Karen's friends vanished overnight. Even her husband started avoiding her at the grocery store. But still, she stayed inside my home, curtains drawn, defiance glowing like embers that refused to die. I stood by the gate one night watching lights flicker inside. "You can't hide forever, Karen," I murmured. And then, a voice behind me whispered, "Neither can you." The next morning, I woke to find tire tracks leading to my main property in town. Someone had broken into my garage and spray-painted "thief" across the door. I knew it was Karen's doing. But proving it was another story. Her kind fought in shadows, using whispers instead of weapons. Still, I wasn't giving up. I filed restraining orders, subpoenaed records, and sent copies of her forged deeds to the county auditor's office. Ethan asked, "Dad, are we ever going back?" I hesitated. "Someday." His eyes glistened. "Then I'll keep the garden tools ready." That broke me inside. Meanwhile, the journalist uncovered something stunning. Karen had used my renovation photos to list the home for rent online. $7,000 a week. My blood boiled. I called the number. She answered cheerfully, "Pine Ridge Paradise, how can I help you?" "Hi Karen," I said coldly. The silence that followed was delicious. Then came the click of a phone hanging up in panic. By noon, I had filed a fraud complaint with proof. The sheriff's car rolled up her driveway hours later. I waited by the roadside, heart pounding, watching officers walk inside. Ethan whispered, "Is it over?" I shook my head slowly. "Not yet," I said. "But she's finally scared." The courtroom smelled of old wood and tension. Karen sat across the aisle, arms crossed, wearing that same green blazer she wore the day she yelled at Ethan. She looked smaller now, though, less queen, more cornered animal. Her lawyer spoke about misunderstood property lines and family emotional ties. Lies polished as truth. When it was my turn, I played the footage, her signing fake documents, laughing about airtight claims. Gasps filled the room like wind through trees. Karen's face drained of color. Her husband shifted uncomfortably, whispering to his attorney. The judge leaned forward, voice low but sharp. "Mrs. Green," he said, "this is blatant forgery. You've trespassed, defrauded, and endangered this man's family." For once, I saw real fear in her eyes. The gavel struck down like thunder. "Full restitution," the judge declared. "Immediate evacuation. 30 days. The room went silent, then erupted with murmurs. Ethan squeezed my hands so tight it hurt. "We won," he whispered. I nodded, though deep down, I knew it wasn't truly over. Karen glared at me as officers approached. "You'll regret this," she hissed. Her voice cracked, but the venom stayed. Outside, cold air brushed my face. The mountain loomed ahead, waiting for us to come home. But revenge, I realized, isn't peace, it's just silence after a storm. When we finally drove back to Hollow Peak, the road looked different, emptier, but freer. The house stood quiet, like it had been holding its breath for us. Windows shattered, walls scarred, gardens overgrown, but it was ours again. Ethan ran ahead, touching the porch rail. "Welcome home," he whispered to the wood. Inside, Karen's chaos lingered, trash, broken furniture, bitter memories. Yet something about the wreckage felt beautiful. It meant survival. I cleaned, repaired, rebuilt. Every swing of the hammer was therapy, every paint stroke a promise that no one could steal peace again. Ethan planted new flowers where Karen's SUV one Saturday. "They'll grow better here," he said confidently. I smiled. "Yeah, they will." As days passed, the mountain's silence became music again, the wind, the woodpeckers, the sound of redemption. Neighbors stopped by, apologetic. "Didn't know she'd gone that far," one said. I simply nodded. Some scars don't need acknowledgement, they just need time. At sunset, I stood on the porch, looking at the valley glowing gold. For the first time in years, it felt like mine again. But as I turned to go inside, a folded paper waited at the door, a note. Just one line written in sharp ink. "You may have won the house, but not the mountain." I handed the note to the sheriff the next morning. He sighed, saying, "She's been spotted near the ridge again. We're watching." But I knew Karen too well. Watching wasn't enough. She thrived on control, on knowing I still feared her. I installed cameras, motion lights, and even hired a private guard for a few months. Peace came cautiously, like a wounded animal testing safety. Then one evening I found footprints by the greenhouse. Fresh, small, deliberate. Someone had been there. Ethan wanted to stay, to prove we weren't scared. "She can't hurt us anymore," he said. His bravery made me proud and terrified at once. Days later, a wildfire sparked near the lower trail. Suspicious origin. Investigators called it human-related. My gut told me the name behind it, Karen Green. Luckily, the fire was contained before reaching us. But it was enough. I pressed charges again, this time for harassment and arson attempt. She was finally arrested, mugshot, cuffs, headlines. Mountain House squatter charged with forgery and arson. The valley buzzed again, but this time with closure, not chaos. Still, when night fell, I couldn't help wondering, how many Karens hide behind kindness, waiting to steal peace? Years passed. The house is quiet now, filled with laughter, repaired walls, and old memories turned gentle. Karen's name faded into rumor, then dust. Ethan's grown, college-bound, strong, still watering those same mountain lawns. Sometimes he says, "Dad, that place made us who we are." That's right. I sit on the porch often, coffee steaming, watching the horizon where sunlight kisses the ridge. The silence no longer feels empty, it feels earned. Every scar on the wall tells a story of fight, faith, and family. And sometimes I still hear echoes, Karen's threats fading like wind through pine needles. I forgave her, eventually. Not for her sake, but mine. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's freeing yourself from what tried to own you. That house was never just property. It was a lesson, that peace isn't given, it's defended, rebuilt, and replanted like Ethan's flowers. One morning, I found a single pine cone on the porch, perfectly placed. Maybe nature's way of saying, "You did good." I smiled, took a deep breath of that crisp mountain air, and whispered, "We won, old friend." Because the mountain didn't belong to Karen or me. It belonged to whoever respected its silence. And after all the storms, the mountain finally chose peace.